Obviously not the ideal way you would have wanted your finals route to go, but how are you feeling ahead of the Swans?
Yeah, well, we're very, we're grateful that we've got a second chance. So obviously last weekend was disappointing, but the group's rebounded really well. Really strong week on the track, and yeah, we get a chance to play in front of our home fans again, which is exciting. So as much as we were disappointed, there was also lots of stuff out of that game where we were actually played pretty well. So we just need to tidy up just a couple of things and obviously bring our best footy on the weekend.
Yeah, Waterhouse was a bit unlucky not to come back last week, but now she's in.
Yeah, so Jess Waterhouse coming to the team. As you pointed out, she was probably unlucky not to play last week. And obviously Naj missing out is unlucky to not be playing. So she's had a really tough season in terms of some injury early in the year and then the suspension. So it's kind of a match-up, that one. Ultimately, Sydney's threat is probably more ground level, and Naj can play definitely small, but she's probably better suited to playing on the talls as well. So ultimately she's very unlucky, but hopefully we can win this week and give her another opportunity down the track.
Strange to be playing Sydney for the very first time in a final.
Yeah, welcome to the AFLW. There's some interesting things happened, and we've never played them before, but I've obviously become pretty familiar with their work over particularly last month. Their footy's been outstanding, so they've really surged towards the end of the season, and it'll be a good matchup.
What's your scouting show them in particular, and why have they been able to get on such a run?
Yeah, well, over the last fortnight, their pressure is really elevated. So they laid a record number of tackles last weekend, but they also offensively they're quite strong. They move the ball to the outside of the contest really quickly. And obviously, Malloy's a threat down forward. They lost one of their key targets last weekend through injuries, which is, to our advantage. Obviously, disappointment. But they're just playing a really nice, balanced style of footy, based mainly off pressure and then some spread.
You mentioned Malloy. Obviously, standout game last week, improving over the journey. How do you approach it? Is it the old cliche of team defence rather than going one-on-one?
Yeah, no. Well, it's an interesting one, and we'll basically have two contingencies. One is to apply an individual player to try and shut her out of the game, but the reality is she's just quality, and she's going to have some influence at some point in time. So in some respects, you kind of want to be aware and understand the strengths of your opponent, but you also need to make sure you don't lose sight of what you want to do. So we'll see how we go, but always it's team-orientated footy, regardless of whether you have a specific matchup for one player.
You touch on the quirks of the AFLW. At what point were you aware of the way the final system works with the host of the grand final? Was that something that clubs were at the start of the season? Because obviously,
to be honest, I didn't give it a hell of a lot of thought, to be honest. And then obviously there was a clarification, but in actuality, that was the way I assumed it had been forevermore. So. And in truth, after you've just lost a final by 2 points, it's kind of the furthest thing from your mind in terms of where they're going to be hosting grand finals. So our focus clearly comes to this week, and that's all that really matters. And in terms of the logistics of it, doesn't really matter. I think it's appropriate the way it's set up at the moment.
Sydney's had some of the best crowds in the competition this season. You confident Crows will be out in numbers tomorrow? Yeah,
I think we had 4.5 there last week, which was great. And Sydney's entry into the comp's been spectacular. Not only the way that their fan base has got behind them, but clearly the ability to turn around really quickly from a winless season and now to be in finals and be winning finals. So, no, we were rapt to be playing at Nord. We probably didn't quite give the fans enough to cheer about last weekend. So that's our challenge, is to try and put on a show that they can get excited about.
What was player feedback from last week? I know you've moved on to this week, but what was I imagine you reviewed it, but what did the players say about such narrow losses?
Yeah, they were disappointed, basically. Yeah, they were just disappointed. They reflected on, some of the things we did really well, and obviously we, came back into the game really strongly and had our chances to win it, but they were probably disappointed the way we started the game. We felt we were just a little bit off in that first quarter. So that was our reflection.
And just touching on Sydney again, does that make it harder as a coaching group to sort of prepare, but not having played them before? Or? Yeah,
much harder for them too, though. So yeah, we're both in the same boat. clearly we haven't played them before, but you can draw a fair bit from watching the tape and making sure that you're aware of the style that they're going to play. But yeah, it'll be unique for both teams, but I don't think it favours one team or the other really.
Just one more on the earlier question about the grand final. Do you think it should have been a bit clearer rather than be clarified during the final?
Honestly, I think it's a non-issue. I mean, ultimately, there's obviously whether it was communicated effectively initially doesn't really matter. I mean, we know where it's at now, and away we go.